G'day folks, welcome to this playthrough of my favourite game, Paths of Glory. Now, more than just a playthrough, what I'm going to try and do here is not just show you how to play the game, but show you how to play it at what I think is relatively high level. As I've mentioned a number of games, this is one of my most played games, one of my favourite games. It is my favourite game. It is one of my most played games. I haven't kept count, but I estimate 75 to 100 probably plus games of Paths of Glory over roughly 20 years, and I've played against some of the best players in the world. I'm not saying I'm I'm that good, but I have played against the world champ many years ago. I forgot his name, but yeah. So I over the last 10 years, I've become quite rusty. The last 5 years in particular, I've probably only played half a dozen games, but I'm going to try and give you that higher level understanding of gameplay, and also talk about sort of considerations when playing the game. Now, challenging me a little bit is the fact that for the first time ever, I'm playing with the historical scenario rules. So this comes with a deluxe version of the game. I've never played with the historical rules before. This does a couple of things. It adds a level 1 trench in Strasbourg. This deters the Allies from employing a strategy where they could otherwise attack, capture Strasbourg, and put out of supply Mulhouse. So it just, reduces that threat. We remove a level 1 trench in Brussels. That's an interesting development. I'm trying to think here. I guess it stops. It slows. Well, it'll make it harder for the Allied players to hold on to Brussels, and it might lead to a more historical opening. This is the historical scenario rules. It adds a level 1 trench in Verona, Asiago, Maggiore, and Udine. So down here, the Italians have trenches, which they desperately need. Interesting to see how this goes. Victory point changes. Peace terms are not allowed. I like that. The Allied player wins all draws, so the Central Powers must be in the lead. And Avaz, Venice, Minsk, Jerusalem, and Kaput are not VP spaces. Okay, so they've taken out a couple of VP spaces. And this is the deluxe map. Okay, so this is the historical scenario map. So that is reflected on the actual map. Okay, you can see they're not, And this is part of the vassal module. The vassal module gives the option to use this map or the classic map. Kovno, Sedan, Amiens, Koblenz, and Aachen are VP spaces. Okay, so Kovno VP space. Sedan is a VP space. Amiens is a VP space. Koblenz and Aachen are VP spaces. Interesting. Really intensifies the fighting for every space on the Western Front. The German player receives 1 replacement point each turn when they're at total war, so you don't have to play. If it controls Sedan, and 2 additional French or Belgian spaces. Interesting. Okay, so this is an incentive for the Germans to hold these spaces, to hold the Western Front, which might deter the German strategy of just pulling back, what a lot of experienced players do. And I don't like it. It's very gamey, but they will pull back to Mannheim, Koblenz, and Aachen. Now, Mannheim, Frankfurt, Aachen, the AFM line, and actually no, I think it's Essen, Frankfurt, Mannheim, because that means that the French can only attack from one direction. It basically gives up the Western Front, and the Central Powers players say, I'm going to hold these 3 points as weakly as possible, but with trenches. And close to Essen and Berlin, they can quickly reinforce these areas. Mannheim is 1 move away from Essen. They can easily reinforce these areas, build replacements to replace it, and focus all their efforts elsewhere. I don't like that strategy because it feels gamey. But anyway, it's what a lot of experienced players do. And this replacement point change encourages people not to do that. So if the Germans actually hold points in France, then they get the free replacement point, which is very valuable for the Germans. Scenario-specific rules use 9.1.4. Okay, so hopefully I can... Yep, so basically the game comes with card, hand things, and we've got hands of 8, which is great. Alright, so that'll give the players a little bit of flexibility. There's a diamond there. What do the diamonds mean? We'll figure that out in a moment. Use optional rule, trench roll modifications. We use that. I mentioned this, we use this. I think this is a great rule. The Central Powers must open with Guns of August. Now, I always open with Guns of August. I think there's been maybe 1 or 2 or 3 games where I haven't opened with Guns of August just to see what it's like, but it's hard to resist that assault on Liège. Not opening with Guns of August slows the game down and it takes it on a different path on the Western Front. Entrench may not be played as an event on turn 1. Okay, this could be interesting. A British mandatory offensive automatically becomes a French mandatory offensive if you roll it on turn 1. And until the Allied war commitment is total war, only Austrian and Italian armies may operate in Italy. So it prevents the Germans from going there, which can be devastating for the Italians. Look, good players, experienced players will know how to counter the Germans in Italy, but this just kind of like removes it. Until the Allied player is at total war, no German armies may end their movement in Trent. No German armies. Alright, so you've got to have Austrians down here. Puts a lot of pressure on the Austrians to attack Serbia. The following cards may double as ops when played as events. So these are kind of yellow stripe on these cards as a reminder. Okay. So you play the card, the event happens, and you get the ops as well. And yeah, okay. That's most of the rules. So let's get going. We do need to draw our hands. So I'm playing two-handed. Right, so that does hide a lot of the fog of war. What's this button do? Alright, that probably auto draws for me, but we won't worry about that. Alright, hands are drawn, and we need to roll. This should be part of setup, I believe. Setting up is place units. Units are all set up. Neutral nations are not on the map. Yep. We're starting with Guns of August, so probably had to undo some of that, I guess, and make sure that I have Guns of August in my hand. So let me try this thing. Draw 8 CP cards. How do I start? Oh look, there's a nice how to play. This is a nice vassal module. How do I draw Guns of August? Preferences? No. Optional rules. There's expansion cards. Hand count will just tell us how many cards we've got. Draw 8 cards. I don't see Guns of August. I don't know how to draw. Maybe it's a... Is it a trigger? Is it already happening? Is it in the discard pile? Do I draw 7 cards maybe and just assume it's been played? Let's find... Oh, there it is, bottom right hand corner. You'll probably see it like it's over there. There it is, Guns of August. So, are we tracking? Combined war status is 2. So, look, I'm not going to go through too many of the basic rules. You play a card, you play it for the event, or you play it for operations, or strategic redeployment, or replacements. This card has been played for the event. It has an asterisk, so it is removed from play. The number in parentheses is our war status. So our German war status, Central Powers war status goes up 2, which brings the combined war status up to 2. We then follow the effects. The Liège fort is destroyed. Place the 1st and 2nd armies in Liège. That's been done. And the German 1st, 2nd and 3rd armies are activated for combat. Okay, now there's a lot of options you can do here. You can attack the BEF. Now that they don't have a trench, it makes that... Let's zoom in on the Western Front. You know, I've always sort of attacked the French 5th Army here. But now that they don't have a trench, it makes attacking the BEF a much more attractive option. If I look at the fire table, okay, so I'll be attacking, if I explore this option of attacking Brussels, I'll be attacking on the 9 to 11 column. I have 10 attack factors here. They have a 5, so I'll be attacking here. I am guaranteed now to get a 3, which was guaranteed to cause a step loss on the BEF. Guaranteed. They are counting on a 5. They will most likely flip a German over. All right, most likely 5 out of 6. They will likely flip a German unit over. But and I think it's a worthy sacrifice for causing a step loss on the BEF. Otherwise, the BEF can merge with the Belgian army and become quite a formidable force. And I think it's worth doing that. So let me just... Yep, they haven't drawn their hand yet, so we will we will draw 8 cards. The Allies. I'm not even going to look at them. And I've got 7 cards here. Cannot play Entrench on the first turn. Okay, so as I said, this. Oh, you know what though? I could just fire with 5 German factors, and then combine. There's a lot of options here. So these 2 spaces are activated for combat. This one and this one. You can see the attack markers on them. Options are, I can throw all 15 against Sedan, and that's what I would normally do, because normally these guys are in a trench. Normally they'd be firing on the 6 to 8 column. Normally I'd be reduced down to 6 to 8. Okay. And it's often just easier to bully around the French. The French start reduced, so that they start kind of behind their full strength. I think the idea, let's try, you know, I'm activated for attack, but I don't have to attack. I can cancel that attack. And now that, you know, it's more of an incentive to be active on the Western Front, I could do both. I could throw 5 factors, hope for 2 or more to cause that 3. All right. In the past, again, this would have gone down to a 4, and their 5 would have gone up to a 6. So they would have done a lot more damage to me. But now, what I can do is throw 5 factors against the British, and throw the remaining 10 against the French in Sedan. I think we can do that. Just a 5-on-5 combat. All right, so I'm going to throw 1 unit out to the west, and the other 2 units down to the southwest to Sedan. Let's do this attack on Brussels first. So as I said, 5-on-5. We look at Central Powers' hand. They have no combat cards, so nothing to play. The Allies have severe weather, a defending unit. This won't apply. Putnik is Serbian unit, so nothing that they can play. So we're looking at 5-on-5. Right, both are attacking on this column. The Germans will try to find the dice at the top here. Here we go. Anything but a 1, it's a 3, which will cause 3 loss factors. The British roll a 2, which is 3 loss factors. So 3 loss factors in the middle. Combat strength is the first number, loss factors in the middle, movement on the right. So that 3 result has to be satisfied, and they're flipped. This 3 result has to be satisfied, and they're flipped. It doesn't really matter. In this case, it doesn't really matter what army I'm flipping here. You know, you should declare what army you're attacking with, but they're only really, you know, the 11th army that really matters if you stack together. Otherwise, the numbers of the armies don't really matter. Now, that combat is done. There was a tie in the loss factors. 3 on 3. Nobody won the combat. They're both considered to have lost the combat, but basically the main thing here is there is no retreat. The British stay there. They cannot be rebuilt, and this is why this is important. I can rebuild this German army. That BEF cannot rebuild, and that's why I went for that attack. They will never get up to 5 again. Now, I have these two units who haven't attacked. 10 on 3. You can see the path here leading towards Sedan. They are going to attack 10 on 3. No combat cards for the attacker, no combat cards for the defender. We are in a forest, which does not cause a column shift. It does give the French the option to retreat, and the Germans must stop their advance in it. So let's do these die rolls. A 6 and a 6. Okay, so we're looking at 9 to 11, 7 loss factors. Now, the other thing is, I could have attempted a flank attempt here. It would have required the flank attempts 2 different spaces. These guys would have to pin, they'd be flanking. I would need a 3 or more to succeed, and in this case the Germans would have attacked first. They would have inflicted their full 7 loss factors on the French, and then the French would counter with what they have left, which would be very weak, but I don't want to risk it. I would often do it, but yeah, not taking a risk. So, do I have anything? Nope, I don't know what I'm thinking here. Alright, so the French have to lose 7 loss factors, so flipping for 3. They are eliminated for another 3. We have 1 more point to satisfy. We flip this core, and it's done. We'll do retreats in a moment. The French 3 rolled a 6 as well, which caused 4 loss factors on the Germans. They are going to go 1, 2, 3, and they cannot satisfy anymore. Right? There's a 4th factor here, but there's nothing they can do, so they're done. The Germans now win 7 to 3, so the French have to retreat 2 spaces. They cannot cancel the retreat because that would leave them with no units left. Right? You're not allowed to. When you cancel a retreat, you lose a step, but you can't do that if you'd be left with no units. So they're going to go 1, 2 down to Melun, and they are going to advance with the 3rd Army into Sedan, and give themselves a victory, which it looks like it automatically did. Yeah, it did. So as soon as they move in there, the game knows. That's brilliant. It is, you so often forget to capture victory. It's one of the most important things. Remember to adjust the VP marker when you capture those VP spaces. And they must stop their advance in there because they're a forest and they want to stop there regardless. They don't want to advance any further. Alright, that is the German opening Guns of August. Very standard opening. You've got choices. Do you throw everything at Sedan? Do you risk the attack on Brussels? Do you flank attack? You've got choices straight away. But yeah, fairly standard opening. All right, French Allied turn. So that was turn 1, and we should see. Look at that! It even places the CP action marker up there. We now get to the Allied turn, and they have 8 cards. Alright, so what's the thinking here? Alright, cannot 1914 restrictions. That's often a nice little summary of the 1914 restrictions. I'm going to try and find it. It's often on. It may even be play raids. Here we go. Are there 1913? Here are all the cards, which is great. Replacements 1914. Neither player may play a reinforcement card on the August 1914 turn, which is where we are right now. So these Russian reinforcements, I cannot play those for reinforcements. I just kind of want to swap these over. So can I? Here we go. Swap them over. Cannot play these first 3 cards for their event. Moltke is a good card to play early if you have an aggressive German player, or if it looks like the Germans might be aggressive. As it stands, the Germans have lost 2 steps. So they may not be, I'm thinking in the Allied play here, they may not be of a mind to be aggressive on the Western Front. If the Germans get away with those initial combats without losing a step, that's when you might really want to play Moltke. That said, you always kind of want to play Moltke because it's a relatively low op card. Cards range from 2 ops up to 5 ops. and a 3 ops card is second lowest, basically. 4 and 5 ops are good, 2 and 3 less good. Okay, so I want to play Moltke, can only be played in August and September. I want to play it just to get out of my hand, right? That's a consideration. These two are both combat cards that are very kind of situation specific. Putnik can only be played in 1914, 1918, and is played to help the Serbians down here. All right? Cannot be played anywhere else. You could play as an ops card. You'll notice it doesn't have an asterisk, so it will not be removed after you play it. So it keeps coming back into your head. One of those frustrating cards. Severe Weather's much the same. One of those frustrating cards, 2 ops that you'll keep seeing again. You can, if you hold these combat cards at the end of a turn, you can discard them. Then we've got Blockade, right? Good. Must play before the first winter. You get a victory point every winter. Gives you 2 war status. Great card. Not urgent for right now for the event. And then Rape of Belgium. May only be played if the CP played Guns of August. May only be played as an event if the allied player is still at mobilization. So you again another must play. Subtract a VP. It's a free VP. 4 ops. Often played in August, September, but not an urgent card to play for the event. Instead, what I kind of want to do is look at the situation, okay, and think about what I want to do. All right. So, allied player, Serbia's under threat. I would love to merge these armies together in Belgrade and start to think about saving the Serbians. That's often my first priority as the allied player. Second priority is putting pressure on the Austrians in Galicia. All right, so how can the Russians hurt the Austrians? And the most common way they do that is by linking up to attack Tarnople here. 2 armies on 1, often with a flank attack. Often with a flank attack. Maybe retreating from Lomza. And depending on how things go on the Western Front, bringing the Belgians up to Brussels. Right, so there's a couple of, each of these things costs action points. To move the second army from Malevo to Belgrade costs 1 action point. To attack Tarnople costs 3 action points. 1, 2. And that's 3 action points. But if I look at my hand, I don't want to play Moltke for that. I want to keep this in mind for the event. So I could play Russian reinforcements for that, or I could consider a 4-op card to play for the event. I could play British reinforcements, for example. Or I could hold on to this for next turn. So a couple of choices here. Do I play a 3-op card, do just what I said and nothing more? Or do I play a 4-op card and do something else? Now, because it's the first turn, I should point out as well, I'm looking up here at Russia. I will point out, so where did my play rates go? Okay, German units may not attack spaces containing Russian forts until the Oberost card is played or German war status is 4 or higher. Okay, so Grodno is safe for the time being until Oberost is played or war status 4. I think I want to play a 4th AP to move the Belgians into Brussels, right, to strengthen that BF. I'll get to other options in a moment, but that's what I'm going to do for now. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to take Blockade. We'll see this again. I'm going to play this for Ops. Okay. Then I'm going to go right-click Move. I can also Control M. Right-click Attack. Control A. And then Belgians Control M. Done. 1, 2, 3, 4 Ops. 4 actions. We do movement first, and I can choose whatever I want. I'm just going to move these Belgians to here, and they are done. So that's reinforcing Brussels. Would love to have a trench in Brussels because I'm accustomed to that, but look, and maybe this is not the best move anymore. Maybe with these new rules, well, they're not so new anymore, but the new rules that I'm using, it's not so great. Combining the Serbians in Belgrade. Now, I've seen a lot of experienced players will just retreat to Skopje or Monastir. They'll just pull back in the mountains, give up Belgrade, force the Austrians. What do they get? They get a VP, they destroy the fort, and then they're fighting in the hills. And it's really tough for the Austrians. Again, that's a very gamey, very good players will do that. I like to fight for Belgrade. It's probably I like to fight for Belgrade. I'm just, yeah. Now, as I said, no combat cards that will affect this combat. I could attempt a flanking attack. Because we're dealing with the Russians here, I'm going to try and do so. Alright, so basically, is it on the player aid? Sequence, VP track. I don't know what that is, that's interesting. Oh, did I roll for... Hold on, let me go back. I didn't roll for MOs, so let's roll for MOs quickly. German MO is a 6, which is no effect. Allied MO is a 5, which is no effect, because Italy's not yet in the war. So no MOs anyway, which is good. Okay, attack here. Now I need 3+ to succeed at this flanking attempt. It's a success. Now what that means is that the Russians will fully attack and resolve their attack first before the Austrians. Now the Central Powers player has no combat cards of relevance. So what we have here now is a 6 army. Alright, so we're looking at 6 to 8. We have got 3 plus 3, right, is 6 here. They roll a 6, which is going to be 5 loss factors on these poor Austrians. So that middle number here, 1, 2 to flip, 3, 4 to eliminate them, instantly replaced with a core, and then 5 to flip that. Alright, they are now going to counter, because of this flank success, they are now going to count on just 0 on the core table. I know they're not going to do any damage, right? So I can throw away the roll. It's a 4, nothing. The Russians win this combat 5 to 0, and the Austrians must retreat 2 spaces. 1, 2. Okay, they go 1, 2. And the Russians can now advance. And they'll just advance into here. Okay. I could advance both of them to there, but that would then create a risk of being outflanked, an immediate risk of being outflanked. So you can see I'm kind of maintaining a solid front line. The Austrians can't get behind me here. You will note, and a friend, when I taught him the game, he kind of observed this big gap in the center here. And the Germans can kind of go 1, 2, they could move their army 1, 2, 3, lay siege to Warsaw, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, lay siege to Brest-Litovsk. You could do that. You could start this game of maneuver, counter maneuver. It will rarely end up well for you. It just becomes sort of a back and forth maneuver. You may, it's so risky. You've got to be very careful if you want to play that type of game. Alright, so the Russians have attacked, everyone else has moved. We now go to the German second turn. Now, the Germans have got this Landwehr card. So let me zoom in on this a little bit. Landwehr. Landwehr is a great card to play early if the circumstances permit. It gives the Germans 2 RPs to play immediately to flip reduced armies. Well, I happen to have 2 reduced armies in Liège. It would be a great opportunity to play that. But let's think about priorities. I've got an Austrian corps here, which could be attacked and wiped out by the Serbians. I have got 2 Austrian corps here, which can be attacked and wiped out by the Russians. So maybe I want to play, hold off on Landwehr for now, and think about saving those corps. Alright, yes, there are only core, but saving a core is saving a core. So I could move this army. What I like to do is stack the Austrians together. So what I do is move this army here to Novi Sad, stack them as one big stack of 6, pull the core back. They don't need to be holding Temesvar. I could do something like this, for example, hold them back to Szeged. It means that the Serbians can't attack them. I'll talk about that in a moment. So often just pulling back a space is a really good move. So that'd be cost me 2 ops. Giving up Chernovitz is no problem at this stage, and giving up Stanislav is no problem at this stage. So I could pull these core back, give up the front, and rally. That would cost me 4 ops though. And just looking at my hand, I've only got 2 4 ops cards. One is Falkenhayn, which I need in response to Moltke if it is ever played. And if Moltke is played, you kind of want to respond with Moltke. Or if it's German reinforcements cards, which I'd love to play for the event from next turn onwards. That said, I've got another German reinforcements card here, and I'm sure I'll see this again. So I'm going to play this 4 ops card for ops. My 4 ops are going to be to save the core. Actually, you know what? Save that core. Move this army. Save that core. And move this force. What I'm going to do is move this core into Stanislav. They're done. I'm going to move that army up to Stanislav. So now I've got a strength of 3 in Stanislav. I'm going to keep this core. I wouldn't normally do something like this. I'm just going to see how I go with them. Kind of a more forward defense. It does invite, what I'm worried about is invites the Russians now to move down. Yeah, probably too risky. Let's play it safe. Let's activate this for movement. Alright, so move him back and move them back. Yeah, much safer. This core is just going to pull back, as I said, and this army is just going to move up to there. And we're done. That's all. So now I've got my stack of 2 Austrian armies here in Novi Sad. It costs them 1 point to activate to attack Belgrade. That's the plan. I have saved this core. This core has pulled back to Szeged. They can't be attacked directly by the Serbians. So it's kind of preserving Austrian strength. Austrians are the vulnerable partner in this Central Powers alliance between Austria and Germany. Okay, that's it. We have done that. We now get to the Allied player. And what do they want to do? Alright, well, Serbia is under threat. The Western Front could be under threat. We've reached the limit for Soviet armies. They only have 2 armies. No more armies can be built. Full stop. They have a fort here, which brings them up to the 5 army. So they're looking at firing on this column. They're kind of all alone out here. But what I can do is find my reserve box. Where is my Allied reserve box? Allied reserve box. I can bring a Serbian corps in to bolster that force. If I bring just 1 corps in here from reserve to Belgrade, it brings that force up to the 6th column. I like the 6th column. These should be your targets: 6 to 8, 9 to 11. I just feel like once you're firing on this column, you're guaranteeing a hit on any army. And yeah, it's a good benchmark for a force. So I am going to Allied play turn. I'm going to look for a card to play for strategic relocation. Ideally, I want 4. So I'm looking at this card. I still want to hold on to Moltke. And I want to save my 4s for their ops rather than SRs. So basically, the numbers in the top left are the number of ops you would get. All right, so 2, 3, 4. The number next to that is the number of strategic relocation points you get. So 2, 4, or 4. It is better value for money to play a 3-op card for SR than it is to play a 4. So I want to play this either for the event or for ops. I want to play this for either the event or strategic redeployment. Now I've got another Russian reinforcement card. The Russians, they can hold their own for now. I'm going to play this for SRs. Okay, I am going to bring, oh look at that, I can send it straight to Belgrade. Right click, send it to Belgrade. Now, let's look at, that's 1 point. I have 4 points available. I want to show you the situation on the Western Front. So these guys cannot be rebuilt. We know that. I'm going to put them on top so I highlight them. The BEF cannot be rebuilt. No replacements can rebuild them. Full stop, they cannot be rebuilt. If they are, if they take a step loss, which is less likely now that they're with the Belgians, but if they take a step loss, they are replaced with the BEF core. Okay, so if they take a step loss, they're replaced with the BEF core. This is kind of an important concept here on the Western Front. So that core will come out of reserve and be placed in that space to replace that army. It's the only core that can replace that army. And then that army can never be rebuilt. So then you're left with a core. Why wait? What I'm going to do is send the core to Brussels. It bolsters this space. It actually doesn't for the time being, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So the core is here. If the army is eliminated, it's permanently eliminated anyway. It'll be replaced with a core, but the core is already there. You're kind of shortcutting the process by throwing the core in there right now. Now I could throw in a normal British core, but I've only got 1 at the moment. I will need more British core. I want more British core. I will be playing British reinforcements, but for the time being, strategically redeploying that British Expeditionary Force core to where the BEF is, kind of shortcuts the process, gives you strength, and yeah, is a good strategic move. Now the reason I say I'm not really adding to my strength is I've gone from a strength of 6 to now a strength of 8. That's not great because 6 and 8 doesn't improve my factors firing at all. Alright, what I ideally want is a new British army to send out to Brussels that I can pull the Belgians kind of out of the way. But that's the situation at the moment. I want the BEF. They're there as an optional step loss if needed. Again, they cannot be replaced. So that's two strategic redeployments. I've got some French redeployments available. And I have some Russian redeployments available. Now that's 2. What else can I do here? I don't want to exhaust my last Serbian. I do want to keep a Serbian core up my sleeve to replace an army if it's eliminated. I'm going to move a Russian force to Kovno, giving it a strength of 5. And I'm going to send last move, a French corps to Belfort to bolster it. It is a weak point in the line. Okay, so I'm going to do that. That's 4 SRs, and we're done. So just adding those little bits of strength along the line. This isn't a great move, and that's an okay move. I'm just spending those points pretty much. All right, back to the Central Powers. And what do we want to do? Cannot entrench. So what I'm thinking is I can't play this. Can't play this. Can't play this. Don't want to play this really. Want to hold on to it till... Yep, so I cannot play these 3 cards. Holding on to those. That's a choice between these 3. Race to the sea, which puts pressure on the Allies to suddenly defend. Okay, let me just bring up those restrictions again. Play aids. 1914. Central players may move through, but not end their move in Amiens. not end in Namur, Calais, Ostend. Right, so this army can kind of move through, but not end their move there. All right. But if they play Race to the Sea, it forces the Allies to respond and do something. And given they've just played, so a good strategy is as soon as your opponent plays strategic redeployment, which the Allies just did, put them under pressure. So I'm going to play Race to the Sea for the event. Central Powers can now end their move in those spaces. And the Allies go, Sacre bleu, what are we going to do? They can now outflank us. And this is a good move. All right. Because now I've got to do something to protect my supply lines. All right. And it's going to be expensive. So I need to block, I need to occupy Calais is probably the most important to make sure that British Expeditionary Force doesn't get cut off, which means I could move an army from Verdun. What I cannot do is strategically relocate twice in a row. So strategic relocation can be played as consecutive actions, right? So this is why when your opponent plays an SR, you hit them with something that forces them to maneuver, and it makes that maneuver expensive. So the French and the British here have to maneuver to address the situation that Race to the Sea has facilitated, and it's going to cost them points that they wouldn't otherwise have to. You know, the Allies are probably thinking, all right, we can keep our attack going in Galicia, we can, you know, keep the pressure on Austria, maybe we can do something else. No. Now their attention is focused here, where they're trying to solve this problem that the Central Powers has created. What are my options? Okay, I can grab a corps in Melun, move it up to Calais, move a corps that I've just relocated to Belfort, move it to Melun. All right, so you go boom up to there, and then boom here. Noting that neither Calais nor Melun are going to be under threat immediately. Right, so if I move this corps up here, it can't be attacked by the Germans. When I move this corps here, it can't be attacked by the Germans. Belfort can hold. They've got 4 corps and a trench, and the mountains. Okay, so basically what that means is that 4 corps will be firing on the 5 table, and so looking at 1, 1, 2, 2. May not do any damage. Yeah, 6 to cause any hits, basically. Once that core is gone, the German 7th Army with a 3 will be firing on the 2. So it will do some damage to the core, but not a lot. Yeah, it could do it, but again, it's not a VP objective. Yeah, that's there for consideration. So the other consideration is, what card am I going to play to actually do this? Okay, I could play. Okay, can't play Moltke for the event yet. Maybe we just play Severe Weather, and I do that simple move. Yes, let's do that. Right, so activating for movement. Going to move this core 1, 2, 3 to Calais, and one of these cores 1, 2, 3 to Melun, and we're done. Solve the problem. Cost me 2 ops. Not overly happy, but yeah. We're done. Back to the Central Powers. Right, they've got a bit of breathing space now. The Austrians aren't under pressure. We could attack Belgrade, but now we're looking at 6 on 6. So with no pressure and no immediate sort of opportunities for combat. When I say no immediate, look, I can always attack on the Western Front. I'm looking at these 2 cards, basically. Now, Sud Army lets an Austrian army stack with 2 German corps. Okay, so why is that important? Because it means the German corps, you'll notice, when they're at full strength, are 214. Austrian corps are 113. The Germans are much more, twice as strong, and 33% more mobile. And there are more of them. And the Germans usually have more replacements. So, if I can play Sudami, it lets me stack the more powerful, more mobile, more numerous German core with the Austrians. It is an underrated card. So I'm going to play that for the event. Right? It doesn't do anything immediately. It just now means that I can strategically relocate, some excess German core to help the Austrians out. And that stack you can always do this, sorry, but to clarify, that stack can activate for just one, here it is, can be activated for one ops point. All right, it is really valuable in this vicinity. Okay. All right, so they're done. And it's the Allied turn. All right, so what are we going to do now? We need some replacements. British or Rape of Belgium? Okay, let's play this for replacements. So big 4-up card, got 2 choices. I want to kind of hold this for second turn, September. I want to play this, get more British to the front. It should be a top priority. This is an important card, but we'll see it again. So I've played replacements, we're done. Now what this does is, yes, we have an allied, we now have a Serbian replacement, an allied replacement. We have 2 British replacements. Now they've got some reduced core in the Near East, so that'll fill that up, which is good. We have 2 French replacements, which we need, and we have 3 Russian replacements, which we don't need. So what the message from this is, we have 3 Russian replacements that I cannot currently spend. In other words, I need to give the Russians an opportunity to take those replacements by attacking, and I'm going to target my efforts on the Austrians. Try to target my efforts on the Austrians. All right. Now, the Germans and the Austrians, they've taken some losses as well. Again, so where is my dead units box? Replacements should be up here. We've got an Austrian army dead. We've got a couple of reduced Germans. When your opponent plays replacements, you should almost always return and do the same. The problem is, the only 4 value op card I have here is Falkenhayn. And I want to hold on to that to respond to Moltke. So I'm going to be, if I don't play this, I'm losing. The difference between this and this is 1 Austrian, 1 German. Look, I think we're going to make do. We're going to play a German, we're going to play this for RPs. I don't like doing this, but I don't like spending Falkenhayn. I don't like losing Falkenhayn. All right. We are now up to the 5th Allied player turn. And as I said, we have 3 Russian replacements coming. So I want to look at my hand and play. I don't have a lot, that's a problem. I want to play 2 turns left. I want to put myself in a position to be able to attack with the Russians to hurt the Austrians. How am I going to do that? Okay. Without putting myself in trouble. All right, so bearing in mind I don't have a strong, I could always fall back on this. I've also got 1 Serbian. 2 cards left, I'll have 2 spare. I'd like to save 1 of them. Okay, I'm going to play Russian reinforcements for 2 ops. Would love to get that out of my hand, weed it, but I'm not. I'm going to activate this for movement, and I'm going to activate this for movement. And I am going to try and put as much pressure on the Austrians as possible by going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, is the 8th Army in trouble? No, because they can draw supply through here. The Austrians cannot cut them off. They could lay siege to Dubno. Yeah, what I've done here is I'm putting pressure directly on Tarnow, 6 to 3, and there is nothing in Tarnow, and Chimizl 6 to 6. Now this is going to be a bit more challenging, But I can soak up these losses. I can reduce these armies. I've got 3 replacements, so I don't mind if the Russians are going to take some step losses. I am fully prepared to rebuild them. And now the Germans should be nervous. The Central Powers should be nervous because they're like, no, they're being a bit aggressive. And how are they going to respond to that? All right, so I know I've got German replacements coming. Okay, where are they tracked? Here we go. We've got 2 German replacements coming. So I know that'll flip my 2 armies. I don't need to play Landwehr right now. Don't need to. I could if I want to get out of my hand. It's a really good card. Yes, it's good to weed out low ops cards. And I like to get rid of it early. But noting that I want to keep Falkenhayn, I would love to get Entrench. I would love to be able to play Entrench so that I'm the one who weeds it out. Basically, both players have an Entrench card. Only one of them will get to play it as an event. The other will be stuck with it for the rest of the game. And that's why I'm holding on to it, because I'd love to be able to play that. That said, I made a decision where I have to play it. Okay, so they're moving up. They're going to attack Tarnow and Przemysl. They're both good places. Look, because I only played that 3 ops card, I only have 1 Austrian replacement. So and I cannot play a replacement back to back. So my 5th action cannot be this is last action, right? Yeah, last action. Yeah, my 6th action, sorry, cannot be replacements. So I just got to survive 1 turn and then I can get some trenches down if I hold it. Okay. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to have to spend 1 of these cards. Entrench, Falkenhayn, or Landwehr. I think, look, Przemysl will... I could lose some strength, but... well, okay. I should have, in hindsight, probably played Falkenhayn for the replacements. I regret that already. But it is what it is. I could. Alright, I could play 2 ops. Yep, 2 ops. Move. And let's get this core up. And actually, you know what? Got 1 other ops. I'm looking at Belfort. I could do some damage. I could. What other options are there? Maybe getting an Austrian core into Przemysl just to strengthen it. Give me something to soak up the losses, basically. I'm looking at Belgrade, but that'll be a 6-on-6, and the Austrians are already kind of under pressure with losses. The Germans need to do something to take the pressure off. It's 1914. There's not a lot they can do. you know what? I need to actually move because I've just remembered. Okay. Russian units cannot attack or besiege a German fort space on August 1914, but they can next turn. So I'm going to have to move 2, 3, 4. Actually, you know what? We'll move. Yeah, we'll move here. All right, because I need to. What did I do? They were moving and they were moving. All right, so this army's pulling back. They're done. Just pulling back to the hills, saving themselves, giving the Russians nothing to attack. These guys just pulling the call back to Tannenberg. Oh, look, the Russians have already retreated, but gives me something to threaten them with. A mobile core. Cannot move this core through here. Can 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, just do something like that. Not saying I want to do that, but it just creates a bit of pressure. Noting the 1914 and the fort restrictions and everything. All right, I'll do that. Okay, that's the German turn. Last action turn. Again, I've got 3 Russian replacements. Right, so I could attack Chemizel and really wear down. Alright, I could throw Putnik, activate 1 space. Or I could just play Moltke. Get out of my hand. Alright, so I know everything I just said about the Russians, about 3, I want to reduce the Austrians, etc. Kind of want to keep them on the back foot by having the Russians attack the Austrians. It keeps the Austrians on the back foot. It makes it harder for them to attack the Serbians. All right, that's very important. But so is getting Moltke out of my hand, so it doesn't come back. So it's done. It's a toss-up. Do I weaken the Austrians or do I weed my deck? And because of the time pressures, all right, I can weaken the Austrians later. This must be played in August, September. And who knows what happens next turn. So I'm going to play this for the event. All right, done. So German ops will cost more until they play Falkenhayn. Alright, so here are our events. Yeah, right, cool. Just checking out the mod. Yep, so basically, where is it? Moltke. Central Powers activations in Belgium and France cost 1 ops per unit. So if you've got a stack of like 2 German armies, it's 2 ops rather than just 1. Yep. All right, and that is the end of the turn. So we are attrition. Nobody's cut off from supply. Siege phase. There are no sieges underway. War status. Central powers are at 2. Allies are at 0. And replacements. All right, so we have got allied replacements first. They'll do 1 Belgian. 1 allied, sorry. Now they have no allied losses. The Serbians haven't taken any SEP losses. The Belgians haven't taken any SEP losses. And all their reserves are at full strength, so nothing to do there. We have got French. We have 2 French replacements. All right, so let's flip our army here, 1, and let's flip our army here, 2. Our armies are back to full strength. And 2 British RPs. All right, so we look in the Near East, we go 1/2, 1, 1.5. And that should be all our British forces that we're allowed to at full strength. Again, reminder, this cannot be built back up. And Russians, 3 Russian steps. Well, as I said, that was a bluff. It wasn't a bluff, I just changed my mind. The Russians are at full strength. Okay. Now, one Austrian RP. One Austrian, where's that? Army in the mountains. Yeah. Army in the mountains. I could rebuild a reduced strength army in Budapest. I do have an army eliminated up in the box here, but yeah, this now gives me an army, a full strength army. That is 3 times as strong as a reduced strength Austrian. And 2 German losses. Okay, well let's go 1. And 2. Yep. We'll make Liège, Sedan, Metz a threat. A triple threat. Alright. And that is it. So replacements on draw, strategy card phase. So the allies look at their hand and they're going to say, no, I'm going to discard Putnik. I don't want it. We then draw 7 cards. Plus another one. Oh, we have no cards left in our deck. All right, they are going to, they can't discard anything, so they're going to draw 6 cards. And it doesn't look good. Okay. German turn. Central Powers turn. Oh, hold on, wait. End of turn. It should be turn 2 now. Yep. And let's check out MOs. So the Germans roll. It is a 3, which is going to be Ottoman. No effect. And the Allies roll a 4, which is going to be Italian. So no effect. Okay. So, Germans first. Moltke is in effect. But you know what? Well, oh, why can't I play this as an event? Entrench. What are the restrictions? Entrench. Entrench. When this is the why can't I play Entrench? It's not turn 1 anymore. Oh, it says it is. Okay, so we got to turn 2. Hey, that's cool. I have a new hand of cards. So the rules are actually, the cards actually reinforce the rule based on what turn you're in. Okay, so now I can play for the event. Yep, so that is removed from play. Place a level 1 trench. This is the Central Powers in any space supplied by a friendly army. And look, Sedan way out in the open there. How do I place trenches? Game markers, level 1 trench. Boom. We now have a trench in Sedan. Both players can now entrench, which means that the Allies are now stuck with their entrench card for the rest of the game. Alright, action 1 done. Now it's the Allied player's turn, and what are they going to do? Oh wow. Okay, reinforcements. So, but looking at my hand, look, I've only got 2 4-op cards. Both British reinforcements. Okay. Well, one of them has to be played for the event, so let's play this for the event. First army and 1 corps. Play it for the event, and look at that, they go straight to London, and the corps goes straight to the box. I don't have to worry about anything. Great. Alright. St. Powers notes this and says, well, if you're going to play reinforcements, then I am going to play Oberost, which lets the Germans now attack Russian forts. Flipping the narrative, we're saying, all right, if you want to play reinforcements, we'll think about attacking you. And the Allies respond and say, all right, now Grodno is a problem, and Lomza is a problem, and Warsaw is a problem. And our attack on Austria may have to be reconsidered. What can we do? We've got an 11th Army reinforcement. What we can do, we've played our British reinforcements. Let's play replacements. All right, so what you're doing here is you're saying, I'm playing this for replacements, and I'm saying, all right, well, if you're going to attack me, I'm ready. I've got my replacements up my sleeve. You attack the Russians can rebuild. Now, as I said, when your opponent plays replacements, you should play replacements. So it's either Reichstag truce or Austro-Hungarian reinforcements. Definitely this one. So I'm going to play replacements as well. All right, so Allied led, we responded. Could have seized initiative and attack Grodno, but kind of just don't want to be caught off guard. If something happens and you suddenly get caught in a string of events and then you have no replacements. This is the thing, if I chose not to play replacements as the Central Powers and the Allies attacked me in Insterburg, for example, and the attack went well, they shouldn't do that, but if they did and it went well and suddenly I'm on the back foot and I'm having to respond to a bad situation, I may not get the opportunity to play those replacements later on. It's very tempting to say, I'll do this later. Most of the time, if there's something you need to do it immediately. Like playing Moltke, okay? I could have waited, but the situation may never come up again. I need to play Moltke to get that card in my hand. I need to play it. All right, so now the Allied play a turn. What do they want to do? I'm looking at Chemizul. I have 6 armies there. I look at the fire table and I note that I need anything. All right, to get 3 loss factors. But getting some more Russians on the board will be great. So I'll play this for the event. And where am I going to put the Russians? In Moscow, right in the middle. Russian reinforcements in Moscow. Okay, so they play reinforcements. Central Powers looks and say, well, we are also going to play reinforcements. We're going to put them in Budapest. All right, so there's a lot of this tit for tat. You do this, I respond in kind. All right, Central Powers now. No, sorry. Allied Powers now. Left with a lot of low ops cards. And I'm still looking. All right, so I want to try to keep the Austrians on the back foot. So I'm going to try to play. I'm going to play entrench for ops. Okay, and I'm going to attack. I am going to move, and I'm going to move. Now this is just a bit of a maneuver. We go 1, 2, 3. These guys are going to shift. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm not expecting the attack on Chemizul to look. It's balanced, so it could work out. Maybe not. I'm giving up Avongrad. I'm giving up Warsaw. I'm giving up Woods. We'll see what happens. Combat. As the attacker, I'm going to play Pleve. I'm going to play this as a combat card. My attack gets a +1 dice roll modifier. The Central Powers, look at their hand. No effects, so they can't do anything. So we are pretty close. We're looking at 6 to 8 and 6 to 8, but the Russians get a +1. Alright, so 6 to 8 +1. Russian roll is a 6. 5 loss factors. And the Austrians get a 6. which is 5 loss factors. Now when there's a tie, it may have already been deleted, it is removed from play. Alright, so no side won that combat. Both sides are considered to have lost. 5 on 5, so go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now 5 here. If I flip both armies, I can't satisfy the 5th. I cannot do that, so I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And comes a tie, so nobody retreats, but the Fort Inchemissel holds, and now I have this big Russian stack right next to it in Lemberg. Okay. I think the Russians are happy with that because it reduces the Austrian strength, puts pressure, keeps the pressure on Austria. And now. And now they've got a pretty weak hand. Up to turn 5, so 2 actions left. Oops, sorry, that was a misclick. Look, I think they need to play Falkenhayn. It can only be played August, September. That'll put me up to limited war, so let's play this for the event. Okay. It relieves it can't nullifies Moltke. So this is now cancelled. Event, cancel event, return to reinforcements. Can't. So look, you don't have to play Falkenhayn. You can pay those costs on the Western Front. Given the situation, like I've rarely focused on the Western Front. I spoke about this in other videos, but I like to have my options open. And I know Falkenhayn is a good 4-op card that would be great for ops and replacements down the track. But yeah. You also need the war status, so I'll go to limited war. Okay, allied player. Oh no, what are we going to do here? Alright, last action. French reinforcements, I'm thinking. Or smashing Schmizzle. Well, the Austrians, if they rebuild that, and if they want to move back in there, I can very quickly smash them again. That's the benefit of having a big, strong Russian 9-stack of armies there. It just deters the Austrians from responding. And this gives me the opportunity to build some French reinforcements. Oh, what have I done? Yeah, I've got one turn left. I've got another turn left. Okay, so I did play Falkenhayn. That was my 5th action. Alright. Play for event to Paris. Right. I thought the turn was over, but I've got one more Central Powers action left. One more Central Powers action left. Now what have I got coming up? 2 Austrian. I can rebuild my army, so let's try and keep the Austrians healthy. German attack versus Austrian units, versus Russian units. Let's try and do that. Let's go 2 ops. Let's attack here, and oh, you know what? Let's attack and attack. Let's try and see what we can do in Brussels. Why not? 2 ops left. 3 German replacements coming up. Can only spend 1 through these 2 core. Let's try and do a bit of damage. We'll have 2, right? So maybe even if we lose and have a reduced army, the best I can do is a 5. So I'm not. This is I think good. So 15. Oh, I wanted to use that combat card, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, not to worry. 15 on 8. Do the allies have a combat? Ah, they have withdrawal. Okay, so I can negate a required step loss 15 on 6 to 8 is probably going to hurt. So this would be a good opportunity to play this for the combat card. Forces me to retreat from Brussels, all right, but negates a core step loss. All right, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, let's see what happens. So the Germans are 15. There's no trench in Brussels. So we have got fire table. 15, they're all the way up here. A 3, 15-3 is a 5 loss factor. And, well, that could hurt the BEF. And the Allies counter on 6 to 8 with a 2, which is only 3. Alright, so the Germans lose 3 loss factors. The Allies lose 5. So they have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But they negate that step, like the core step loss. So the BEF stays at full strength, but now they have to retreat 1 space. And the Germans can advance into Brussels, giving them the VP. Now the Germans are in a bit of a vulnerable position. It's not great. They could have taken the step loss from... Oh, look, you know what? We'll do that instead. We'll take the step loss in Sedan. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Risky, because the French counter with 6 on 3. Yes, we're in a trench. Could be hard, but that's what we're doing. All right. That's it. Just checking my modes, making sure I didn't forget anything. And the Allies, they have 1 action left. They have to take a 1-op. Because they're out of cards. So they're 1-op. They're going to smash Chamizel. Here we go. Going to do a 9 on 3 attack. Yep. Alright, so we're looking at 9 army. They roll. It's a 4. 9, 4 is a 5. So that core is eliminated. And the fort is destroyed. The Austrians counter with 3 army. They had a 3 fort plus 1 core. Is a 6. So 3, 6 is 2. So they're actually going to flip an Austrian army. But then the Austrians can advance into Chamizel. Would have been nice to advance all those armies across, but look, we've destroyed this really powerful Austrian fort on the frontier. Job done. Okay. Now, the end of the Allied turn. Attrition, again, no air supply. Sieges, there are still no sieges taking place. War status. Okay, so the Germans now are at war status 4. Is there a mechanism? Is there a mechanism for shuffling cards in? Oh, here we go. Add to deck my limited war. Shuffle back in my... Alright, and I'll just... Yep, that's... Oh, hold on, before I do that, CP hand, I want to discard that and discard that. Alright, so shuffle those back in as well. Again, combat cards held can be discarded. I'm not holding anything in the Allied players. Struggling with war status now for the Allies. Okay, not good, not good. Alright, and replacements. War status. Don't draw cards yet. Replacements. 1 Belgian RP. Good. We have 2 British. Oh, okay. 2 French. 1... Actually, you know what? Sorry. 1, 2. This army back up to full strength in Paris. We have 3 Russian. Okay, so this is where I can flip that army 1. And then 2, 3. When you rebuild Russian armies, it's best to stack them together, because if I were to put them up here, for example, to bring these armies to the front, I've got to spend 2 action points. By stacking them both together, I'm activating this whole space for 1, and they move to the front much quicker. Once they get to the front, then you can begin sort of splitting them up. Alright, so that's the Russian replacements. Now, let's see, some allies. So now I've got 2 Austrian. The Austrians did pretty well there to kind of survive. Alright, and now, where are their eliminated units? Oh, here we go. Alright, so let's get 1 army in Budapest back up to full strength. So I've got 3 armies now ready to counter. And 3 Germans. Right, so back at the front. 1, 2, half, 3. Alright, so the Germans are at full strength, I think. Replacements are done. Draw strategy cards. Allied player, they draw. They're not at war stat. They're really struggling. They've got war stat at 1, so they draw 8 cards. Oh, I've got to that's why I didn't get a card. So I've actually got to manually remove from play. Got to manually reshuffle. Got it. I thought I'd run out of cards. I don't know what was going on then. 8 cards. There we go. Central powers. Just make sure they don't have anything in their discard pile. They are going to draw 8 cards. Alright, so they've got the limited war deck. The Allies have still got their mobilization, but they've got some decent mobilization cards. They're stuck with Entrench. They want to get this card out of the way. But yeah. Alright, folks. Look, that's 2 turns down. I'll continue this soon. For now, I will wrap it up. So, you'll notice the Austrians, the Central Powers haven't attacked Serbia. It's an early priority, but the Russians have really been going at them. So this is where, okay, the Austrians want to attack Serbia. The Russians are relieving the pressure on Serbia by attacking Austria. Austria is under pressure. The Germans need to relieve the pressure on Austria by attacking Russia. And this is my fault for not doing enough with the Germans. So the Germans need to pick up their game. They've been doing silly stuff on the Western Front. Maybe instead of this attack on Brussels, I should have been attacking Grodno, Kovno, getting some more German units out here. The Ottoman Empire is now in the war, so they are no longer neutral. We are also at turn 3. Turkey enters the war. There we go. So, I'll continue this soon. Thank you, folks, and take care.